Chairman Obie's bill satisfies each of these requirements. It meets the immediate needs of our troops, but allows Congress to decide in a few months whether the situation on the ground in Iraq justifies using the remaining money to redeploy our forces or continue the war. The President's own benchmarks, these are the President's own benchmarks for measuring progress in Iraq, will be the centerpiece of that evaluation. You would think that the President would embrace this legislation. It has his benchmarks. It asks for a progress report. Perhaps he thinks there will be no progress, so he's afraid of that report. And then a vote in the House as to whether to continue the war. The President's own benchmarks for measuring progress in Iraq, again, will be the centerpiece, his benchmarks. This is the kind of regular and responsible review of the war Congress should have been conducting since the mission began more than 4 years ago. Regrettably, but not surprisingly, the President has threatened to veto the Obie bill. Unfortunately, the President has taken us down this road before. The President has brought us to this point by vetoing the first Iraq Accountability and refusing to pay for this war responsibly. He has grown accustomed to a free hand on Iraq that he had before January 4th. Those days are over. The American people have made it clear that they want a new direction in Iraq, one that is going to bring this war to an end. They have lost confidence that the President can or will produce a plan to do that. Even some members of the President's own party have finally realized that he has lost credibility with the American people. The President said today that he would accept benchmarks, but what he fails to accept is accountability for failing to meet those benchmarks. Benchmarks without consequences are meaningless. It's interesting to me that in his President's No Child Left Behind legislation, he establishes standards for America's school children. And if those children do not meet those standards, there are serious consequences for them, for their families, for their schools, and for their school districts. And yet, while holding America's school children accountable with consequences, the President refuses to hold the Iraqi government responsible with consequences, while our young people in Iraq are dying. The President said today again that he would accept these benchmarks. We hope that he will and reconsider the thought of vetoing. This is a bill he should like. It has his benchmarks. It asks for a progress report. He must have some confidence in what he is doing, and then leave it up to the Congress to make a judgment in July. What could be fairer than that? Congress has offered the President recommendations for change in Iraq. In rejecting them, he has offered nothing in return except a demand for more of the same, a blank check for a war without end. American people expect more and deserve better. A war which has ended so many lives, weakened our military, at a great risk to our security, and cost so much money, cost so much in reputation for America throughout the world, cannot continue indefinitely. I don't know why the President doesn't understand. This war cannot proceed indefinitely, and that's the course he has us on. Any engagement that we have militarily should meet the test of, does it make our country safer? Does it strengthen our military? And does it bring stability to the region that we're engaged in? The President's policy fails on all three scores. This bill offers more ideas for winding down this war. I urge the President to consider these ideas and those which may be proposed by the Senate and work with us in conference to produce a bill that meets the needs of our troops and the expectation of our country. We owe it to the American people to try to find our common ground so that we can end this war, and we will do that. But we will stand our ground if it is a blank check for a war without end. We look forward to continue our conversations with the White House, with the Senate, to again draw down this war and bring home our troops safely and soon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from California.